forum. And now the county council race for Wailuku, Waihehe, and Waikapu.
Thank you, and thank you for listening. This evening we're going to be having two council races that are being contested now in the primary. The other races for other sections of Maui do not have primary races because either there's only one candidate who will go right through in 4 of the races, and then 3 of the races there are only 2 candidates, and both of them will go through to the general election. The primary election is taking place on August 11th, and we're hoping that you'll vote, or if you can not make it that day, perhaps you want to do an absentee ballot, and that absentee ballot, you can either get it at the county clerk's office by going in there and voting, or by mail. You can contact the clerk's office and get the absentee ballot. What we'll be doing now is we have 3 candidates for the Wailuku seat, and that will be followed by 3 candidates competing for the Kahului residency seat. Now, the council races are different than the state races. In the state races, you vote by district. In the council races, candidates represent a district. So in this case now, we'll have 3 people who represent represent Wailuku, and they live in Wailuku area, and they'll be representing the area, but they'll be voting on all issues for the whole county, and so will the voters. Voters from all over Maui, Molokai, Lanai, East Maui, Upcountry, Kihei, etc., will all be voting for these candidates. So please, if you live in other districts of Maui, don't turn it off now just because you don't live in Wailuku. You'll have a chance to vote for these candidates. We have this evening 3 candidates here, and we have an incumbent, Mike Victorino, we have Lisa Capero, and we have Joe Blackburn, who will be meeting with you this evening and telling you some of their opinions and something about themselves. So please, we'll have first Nanea Kalani. Nanea is a reporter at the Maui News, and I'm Dick Mayer, and I'm a member of the Kula Community Association. Nanea.
So first question has to do with ethics, and we'll start with you, Lisa. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. Do you think it's ethical to take money from developers, unions, or others when you'll probably later be making decisions that will affect them financially?
No.
I like that question, Nainea. I pride myself in not taking contributions, especially from unions. I'm a small business advocate, and I think small businesses and free enterprise, along with the free market, is what's going to grow our community and our island.
Amen to that.
Okay, you have 2 minutes on that question, so if you want to
Oh.
a little longer, you may.
I really prefer not to. I think in a position as a council person, it's only ethical if you remain neutral in all things, especially with the unions. But the developers are the same thing. We have to remain neutral.
And Councilmember Victorino?
Thank you for that question. I have been very fortunate to have a wide base of support. Much of my supporters are union blue-collar workers for which I grew up on the plantation camps. So I am very appreciative of their help. My door is open to all who come to me. What are the developers? What are the unions? What are the chamber? What are their other small businesses? All the time they come and ask me to help them. And I try to help everyone in every area possible. Ethically, I have no problem in taking and reporting.
They're buying your vote.
I have much of what I call small, everyday people who make small donations, $10, $20, $30, that really help my campaign. In fact, I'm very proud to say that I'm able to get well over $9,000 in matching funds just because of that fact, because these people believe in me. So I have no problem in helping and being helped. It costs money to run a campaign. Unfortunately, it costs money. We got to travel throughout this county.
Tell that to kind of shaky.
Islands. And for most of us, you know, it is a matter of doing what we need to do. And the expenses involved are very, very costly. So I have no problems in saying that I'm proud to work with unions, work with developers, work with environmentalists, work with the everyday people, the chamber, the small businesses. I'm a small businessman. I have a small insurance business, so I understand. And many of my clients are small business mom and pops. So I'm very proud, and I have no problem in working with them. Whether they donate to me or not is not the question. We're here as a community working together to make Maui County a better place. Thank you.
And Joe, 2 minutes, same question.
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. Do you think it's ethical to take money from developers, unions, or others when you will later probably be making decisions that will affect them financially?
The system is built such that you need to take money to run a campaign. As a first-time campaigner, I'm not going to get a lot of money from unions or developers because basically that money normally will go towards the incumbent because of loyalty. Once you get in, that money will normally flow towards you. I would like to see the whole system changed so that public money is put into a pot, people donate to a pot, and the people running draw from the pot.
That's
The
an
lack of
interesting
candidates
idea.
right now is horrible.
Unfortunately, it might lead to more
Many of the
under-the-table
races have no
illegal
candidates
deals,
running.
though. That's the
Campaign
only
spending
problem.
commission reports are difficult. My poor accountant was up working on it for several days. So the idea I have is take money, either have public money or people who want to donate money for politics, and we all draw from that, so that we get out of special interests having a natural advantage. I also want to encourage people to run. I think it's critical.
Amen to that.
Because with the way it is now, it's so difficult to enter a race. Lisa's been through it, and I know how difficult
I agree.
it is.
No,
and
no
Mike's been
seat
through it
should go
several
unopposed.
times.
There's
And
too
all
many
the
of them. I
council members
agree.
will tell you, fundraising and doing this is not a fun job. So at this point, yes, money will be taken from unions and from special interest groups. That's part of the game. I'd like to change the game. I'd like to make it a little bit easier for people to raise money, make sure it's public money, and make sure that I don't have to answer to somebody because they gave me money. I'd rather answer to somebody because I think I have a good solution for the problem.
Amen to that. I like that.
The next question will be, each of you will get a different question, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer it. First one for Joe. You are a retiree, excuse me, for many years of employment with the county, as a firefighter and other things. You know about the pension plan's liabilities for the state retirement system, county tribes. What changes would you work for to reduce the troubles of a public employee pension fund?
I draw from the pension fund. I've seen there's a massive liability to the pension fund. Really, we have to change some of the benefits. The original benefits for county workers were because we were pretty low paid, and so the benefits were there, and you kind of depended upon that upon retirement. What I'm scared for now is, even in my case and the younger employees, that when it comes time to retire, they may not have the funds that they thought were going to be there unless we make changes now. Some of the changes would be looking at overtime is added to the pension fund, and this adds to your retirement greatly. So maybe not cut out the whole thing, but look at a percentage that instead of your whole overtime being part of your package, that you would get 10, 20, 25% because you did work those hours. That would be, I think, very important. We need to keep up the medical side. That, as you get older, medical becomes more and more important. We need to look at, and I know they're changing it, but it was the last 3 years, and I know they're changing it to 5 and maybe 10 years. That may be a little bit drastic, but at the same time, I think management has to look at and say, cut overtime and make it easier for people to retire and be safe in what they're going to get. I retired in 2002, and what I make now, and in 2002 it was a great retirement. In 2012, I worked another job, and I'm running a small business to stay afloat.
Lisa, what parts of our county government are least effective? What changes will you propose? What parts would you eliminate?
I think there's some movement in that area as we speak with the building permits and those kind of things. I think in 2010 there's a lot of duplication or just overworking of the system. We need to get it more streamlined in terms of effective permitting, effective inspections, effective just the general inspection, whether it be a building inspection or a B&B inspection. All these things we can make all kinds of rules and regulations, but unless they're able to be enforced, they're pretty much null and void. But I would like to see the government more streamlined and people working a 35 to 40 hour a week job without the overtime, because the public sector is the highest paid employees that we have on the island right now.
Michael, 2 minutes. You recently supported the growth of Wailuku towards Waikapu. Should Wailuku become a town that will expand to include both Waikapu and Waiale?
Thank you for the question. As you're well aware, we just recently went through the general plan for the Wailuku, Waihe, Waikapu area. And one of the most important things that came across from the smaller areas like Waikapu and Waihe was a definitive separation of their areas from Wailuku. And so we have made sure that greenways as well as ag was put in between these areas, so there would be a definitive boundary between the two towns. Waiale also, greenways are part of the whole project, and there's many things that need to be done in that sense. In fact, the general plan is one of the biggest reasons why I think the future for Maui County can be well received, because we're taking a real total picture. You know, Dick Mayer over here and many others worked on the GPAC, then they took it to the Planning Commission, and now it's in our hands. So to make sure that Wailuku, Waikapu, Waihe are separated by agriculture, by greenways, by open space, so that they will not grow together, the general plan has stipulated that these things be a part of. A lot of them is by like 21 acres that would separate the growth of that area between Wailuku town, Wailuku area by Kealani, and the area next to Waiolani, Waiolani, yes. And that way, the two areas would be separated. So it's my intent to continue working with that and making sure the general plan will be the overarching policy to protect the county of Maui, especially our little towns like Waikapu, Waihe, and many others out there. Thank you.
The next question, we'll start with you, Councilmember Victorino. You'll have 2 minutes and you'll all get the same question. It has to do with development. What conditions will you insist upon when development projects come before the council?
Well, many of the development projects that have come before us lately, we have made a number of conditions so to ensure that, number one, a timely resulting development occurs. And when I say timely, we've put in review periods of 5 years or 10 years, or that you have to have at least started your project within a certain period of time, 5-10 years. We recently had a challenge down in Kihei with a mall, a mega mall being built from 15 years ago, which was approved. And so these are the kind of things we want to avoid. We want to make sure that we streamline the planning process, like Mr. Capero has said, so that we can get things moving along. However, if somebody is land banking and going to sit on a project, in which we all know right now, this county is owed a lot of housing and a lot of affordable housing, I think now is the time to make sure whatever projects come before us, those conditions that they will be started in a timely manner and completed in a timely manner, and that affordable housing is going to be built in conjunction with market value housing. That way, those affordable housing are done upfront when we're doing the market, not after the fact, for which sometimes this county has been shortchanged, and we don't want that to happen. So it's my belief we need to continue to work together to make sure that development and developers are accountable, and the conditions, whether it's cultural, whether it's environmental, whether it's for parks and schools or whatever, is there and must be enforced as part of the condition, and the review process must be in place so future councils can look upon it and say, wait a minute, you haven't done this, hey, we're going to take action. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to ask you a follow-up on that.
Sure.
You've been a council member. Mm-hmm. Can you name some projects where you actually have imposed those kind of conditions, and have you actually initiated downzoning? There are many projects that have been on the board for a long time. Are there any projects that you've initiated to be downzoned because they've just not gone anywhere?
Well, Ka'awai in Kihei, but we gave them 5 years. That was only last year. And the other one is the one out in Lahaina next to Kahoma. We are giving them 5 years to get started. So most of the things that I'm referring to, Dick, has just been instituted in the last 2 or 3 years. So we are waiting to see if this is not done, we have, and I said, I will take action when and if these people do not move on these projects, we will then look to downzone them.
Okay, Joe, we'll go with you. Same question. It was, what conditions will you insist upon when development projects come before the council?
But right now, it's really a bad situation for a lot of homeowners, especially in the Wailuku district. Many of the roads have not been dedicated to the county of Maui. And so what has happened is the developer puts up a bond, puts in the infrastructure, sells the lots, turns over the infrastructure to the county of Maui, but the county of Maui does not take deed to these roads or parks, and it's become a tremendous burden. There's at least 7 subdivisions in the Wailuku area. I represent at least 2 of them that are dealing with road dedication issues, and it doesn't make sense. And how nobody's picked up on this for a number of years, I can't understand. But when the county of Maui says, we're accepting your sewer line or your water line, but it's not ours, it gets a little confusing. And the problem is these homeowners are not only paying their dues to the associations, they're paying now to try to get roads dedicated. Just this year alone, in legal fees, I have one association that paid $44,795.25 just on the legal and professional side of trying to get roads dedicated. And this wasn't even the punch list of sewer lines and driveways and sidewalks. And this thing has been going on now. Many of these subdivisions were built in 1999, in the year 2000, 2001. And we need to make it so that when a developer turns over these properties to the county, that they become county property. If that was the intent of the subdivision and the developer, the cost is horrendous, and it becomes a never-ending circle. You do your punch list, you go to deeds and dedication, that takes 2 years. You go back, oh, you have to punch list again, that takes a year. Oh, by the way, things have changed. So that would be my condition.
Question I asked Mr. Victorino regarding sunset, ending projects which may have been given approvals long ago and have never been built. You know a lot of the projects, Joe. Can you tell us some projects that you would say, hey, they've had enough time to build their project, let's downzone them and revert them back?
Hollywood?
In not only your area, but all over the island.
The one that comes to mind is Hollywood.
Which one is that?
That was Sterling Kim's. That was Sterling Kim's. It's in bankruptcy right now.
Okay, so you would downzone that?
I mean, at this point, the entitlements shouldn't be honored, and that's what happens.
Okay, any others?
I believe there's a Leali'i in Lahaina, which was a huge subdivision that was actually going to be Hawaiian Homes. And now, what's happening with it? And, it isn't Hawaiian Homes. Is it going to be Hawaiian Homes? It's going to be affordable housing. So things, over time change, and we don't seem to keep track of it. And if you go into DSA, the Development Services Administration, their subdivision files are in folders, file folders, stacked this high. And to look through the documentation to find out what's going on in that subdivision, you actually have to open up the folder and leaf through it paper by paper. I've done this several times. So I think it's difficult to try and figure out where a subdivision stands, especially through the passage of time.
And Lisa, same question. You have 2 minutes. What conditions would you insist upon when development projects come before the council?
Well, of course, we want to get all the cultural things in order, but what I'm hearing here is that the county is not in sync with the developer. They're not in sync with taking these lands back, putting the roads in.
Call it like it is.
What we need to do, and culturally too, it's just taken too darn long. Now you have people working in the county who are basically, we call them public sector, but they are public servants. And these jobs are taking forever. It starts with the permitting and all the punch lists that they have to go to and then have to go to it again. I don't think we could ever enforce downgrading them again because so much time goes by. And this is where it's got to be done more succinctly. Things have to work together. I was reviewing the paper this morning with the Oluwalu the affordable home in the little town that they're going to build there. Those people have been waiting for that for 10 years. They're anxious to have it. And it should be pushed forward. And it should be, these things should be in the works long before 10 years. Within a 5-year period, this should be moving already.
And if they got approval and they didn't build within the 5 years, what action would you take?
Are we going to make another law to ban another thing? I mean, I don't know. You know, it's like,
Excellent
how many things
question.
can you ban here?
Communism.
Yeah, they need to be done. But the reasons they're not being done is not always the developer that's, land banking. It's the county giving them the hard time, giving them the pushback on it.
Oh,
Not
the
getting
cold
permitting
hard
correctly.
truth.
Everything's got to be
It
lined up
hurts.
correctly for that.
The next question, and we'll start with you, Lisa. You have 2 minutes. It seems that much of Maui's housing developments are upscale and way out of the reach of working families. Even so-called affordable housing is too expensive. In what ways can you get developers to correct the imbalance?
That's a good question, and I think that we should start with the developers and we should start with the community about looking at other forms of housing. Does it have to be a single standing home to be called affordable? There are all kinds of designs and ways of living that are ecologically correct that would fit the needs of Maui today. And I think we should start looking into those kind of home buildings, as well as shared streets, parking, and all that kind of thing. We can work together with these developments. The affordable housing seems to be coming up in Lahaina on the former ceded lands. Hawaiian Homes built 116 homes back of the post office, and now it looks like we're going to move forward with the affordable housing in that area, which is much, much needed, and as well as coming out into the outlying areas like Olowalu and on the outside of Lahaina to get affordable housing for the people that do work in the tourist industry. This is real important, and I think we should get creative, collaborative with everybody, culture, new forms of home building, new products on the market, and get these things done.
Councilmember Victorino, same question, 2 minutes.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What would you do to get developers to correct the imbalance between luxury housing and affordable housing?
Well, there's a number of things that we've instituted recently. For the county, we have looked upon how we can get houses built so that young people, people can actually afford to buy them. And, Ms. Capera has some good points. Do they have to be single family, 2-car, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and the whole 9 yards? Or can we be creative with multi-family homes, multi-family units? I think this is important. I think the downturn in the economy has really brought forth the fact that a lot of the housing in Maui was well overpriced. And I think the downturn has shown us that there is a market now, not only with the foreclosures, but also bringing down housing being built presently. It's much more affordable. And I think now we're seeing that both land and price of housing has dropped to a point where a lot more people can afford it. And I'm also proud to say that this county has taken an active role in many areas like the first-time homeowners assistance program, where we help first-time buyers buying homes because we want them to get a home, to be able to live and raise their families, to work and be able to be a part of the community. Once you own a home, once you own a piece of property, once you own something, you take ownership of your community. And so this county has worked very diligently in these areas and others. And we have with the Nahali Omaui, that program has assisted many people in getting into homes at an affordable price. So even though it's been very difficult, I think the council and the administration has worked very diligently to look for alternatives, to continue to work hard. But we've got a long way to go, and we all have to work together. Again, Maui County is going to be better if we all keep working together. Thank you.
And same for you, Joe.
I'd like to, again, think a little bit outside the box. I don't like government to be saying, okay, this is what you have to build, and the developer will do it.
Oh, great point, Joe.
They can get away with it. I'd like
That's
to look at it and
communism
say,
when
can the
government tells you
developer
what to
help
do.
us with infrastructure
I
for the
like that
area?
point, Joe.
Whether it be roads, water. I mean, we've had no source development in water for years. And turn around and help people qualify for mortgages. The county's done a good job, and I commend them for this first home buyers program. But people right now, even if they have the down, can't qualify. So you can make all the affordable housing you want. If people can't qualify for the mortgages, they're not going to be able to get the homes. And I don't like putting all the same type of home in the same area. I don't think it's good for a neighborhood. So my thought process is get out of the housing business, get into the infrastructure business, get into the business of helping everybody get into a home that's in a certain income criteria. And that would be not only through down payment, but qualification help. So that in the end, we help more than just a few people who may be able to get an affordable house. Because a house is expensive to build, and you're not going to get that many. I think we can help way more people by putting together programs that help you get a house.
The last question for all of you. This is to turn this one around. Mike, what question do you wish we had asked you? And then answer it. You know, you probably have some things you really want to tell the public on Maui. What question should we have asked you?
Well, that's an interesting perspective, asking myself a question. I think what I would want to say right here and now is that the question I would want to ask myself is this, or what about you to ask me? Is things in Maui County better today than they were 2 years ago?
Basic grammar.
We have just gone through one of the worst downturns in our economy throughout the world, throughout the United States, throughout the state, and this county. And yet this county was able to keep a AAA rating on its bonding. We've had a very strong fiscal reserve, and we've worked very hard to help our people recover during these downturns. We put out
what does any of that mean, honestly? I don't know.
And Waikimo has been one of the bigger ones that we put out for water, which will help assist the upcountry area in their water needs. We've also put in many other improvements, such as the Kihei police station, $40 million. We got it down to $27 million. The Molokai fire station. So many of the CIP projects that are being brought forward, creating jobs, but also helping to protect and enhance the people of Maui County's life. And so these are the things that I would like the people to understand, that we're working very diligently to make the quality of life better. Has it been an easy task? No. And are we out of the woods? No. But I think with visionary and experienced leadership, we will collaboratively, we will be able to achieve by working for you and your families and make Maui Noko'oi. Mahalo.
And Joe, same question. What do you wish we had asked you? You're a first-time candidate.
Can you ask me the third question? The question was, what parts of our county government are least effective? What changes will you propose?
I hope you didn't get your tax bill today, because if you did, then you're not a very happy camper.
Good point, Joe. That's an excellent point.
Imposing rates and raising rates. Your tax bill, if you were a homeowner, and I looked at 3 or 4 homes already, probably went up 30% this year. So you're getting your papers in the mail now. Look at them. The real serious thing here, and what has to change, is your time to challenge the assessment is passed. So now you got an assessment. That was earlier in the year, but the council changed the tax rates, and they took away some of your exemption. All of a sudden now you're getting a bill that's higher, 30% higher in many cases than what you paid last year, and you can't appeal it because the time for appeal is passed. That needs to change. I mean, if you're going to get a 30% change in your bill, you need to have the ability to appeal it. I don't like when we make decisions and then take away decisions. Whether you liked Hamapoko wells or didn't like them, let's see, we closed them in 2006, we opened them in 2011. So for about 4.5 years, we spent probably $5 to $7 million in infrastructure and let it sit. We cannot afford these kind of decisions. We have to be way more effective. I was watching an ambulance today, and they got to Hana Highway and Dairy Road, and the light stayed red. these are simple solutions. It's an Opticon system, and it changes the lights to green for emergency responders. I can go on. I've got a fertile mind. I've worked for the government. Traffic light timing. Wow, what a simple solution. I mean, and it can be done. We can do this, but people have to get upset about it. They have to have leaders who will pursue it to the end. This is important.
Absolutely.
We need to make government more efficient, and we need it with passionate leaders.
Thank you, Joe. Lisa, same question. What do you wish we had asked you?
Okay, good. I wish that you had asked me why I'm running for county council against such insurmountable odds. And I'm not doing it once, I've done it twice now. But it's a combination of things. I think the county council is not responding. They're just asleep at the wheel. And today our economy is
Call
in
them out.
Mike
Call them
just
out.
said it. We've had the worst economy in 2 or 3 years now than we've ever experienced in any of our lifetimes. But what are we doing? We need to get creative. I'm the person that should be in the council. I want to get collaborative with all this diversity we have on the island. Let's work together. Let's brainstorm. Let's create. Let's build something out of our own natural resources that we can do. But you're not going to get this from the council today, because just like Joe told you, what you're going to get from the council is your taxes are raised. That's all they can think of to do. With higher taxes, you're not going to get productive people. My belief is if you lower the taxes, you will produce higher revenue because of the more money that you and I have to spend. And 30% on your property tax, that doesn't sit well with anybody, I don't think, tonight. And if you're listening to this, I'm asking you once again, let me get collaborative with you and your neighbors and potential business people in the community. Let's run this county like a business, not like a public servants.
Ooh, Lisa nailed that one.
Wonderful that the opportunity.
Ooh, it's too bad her and Joe are running for the same seat, because they honestly would both be great additions.
Again, I want to remind all the voters that
that's the way it works, though, I guess.
Members, it's not something that you do just in your residency district. You'll be voting all over the island for one of these three in the primary, and probably will happen, or not probably, what will happen is in the general election, 2 of them will go forth and compete in the general election in November, on November 6th. So please, August 11th, vote in the primary, and again, in November, please vote in the general election. And now we'll be going on to the Kahului race. Thank you.
Thank you.